Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we're exploring confidence. Not the loud kind that fills a room, but the deeper force that shapes how we speak, how we recover, how we learn, and how we step forward when nothing feels certain yet. Confidence can change the body before a single word is spoken. It can rise from practice, belonging, memory, and courage. It can flicker under pressure, then return in a moment. It can be borrowed in childhood, tested in failure, and strengthened in ways most people never notice. And perhaps most fascinating of all, it is not fixed. It is built, shaken, rebuilt, and refined across a lifetime. Tonight, we'll wander into the psychology, biology, and hidden social power of confidence. We'll explore why some people seem steady in chaos, why fear and confidence can exist together, and why real confidence is often far more flexible and far more surprising than it first appears. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your body soften and notice your eyes grow heavy. And as the day begins to gently fade away, join me as we explore this fascinating world of confidence together. Let's begin. Confidence can change your heartbeat before you say a word. Long before a conversation begins, the body is already making predictions about what might happen next. If you expect judgment, rejection, or danger, your heart can speed up, your breathing can shorten, and your muscles can tighten before you even open your mouth. That is part of what makes this so fascinating. What feels like a social moment is also a full-body event. In studies of stress and performance, people who feel more assured often show a different physical pattern under pressure. Their bodies still react, but the surge is interpreted less as a threat and more as a challenge. That shift can change everything. The voice steadies, the face softens, timing improves. Even the first few words come out differently. In that sense, confidence is not only a thought in the mind. It is a signal that ripples through the chest, the lungs, and the nervous system before anyone else hears a sound. Children borrow confidence from trusted adults before growing their own. One of the earliest forms of courage does not begin inside the child at all. It begins in the face, voice, and posture of someone nearby. A toddler approaches a strange dog, a dark room, or a high step, then looks back to see how an adult is reacting. If the adult appears calm, attentive, and unafraid, the child often moves forward. If the adult freezes or startles, the world can suddenly feel dangerous. This process is known as social referencing, and it is one of the clearest signs that human confidence begins as something shared. Before children can explain risk, they are reading it in other people. They learn what deserves caution and what can be explored. Over time, those borrowed signals become internal patterns. A steady parent, teacher, coach, or older sibling can become part of the child's inner voice years later. In that sense, confidence is not only built through achievement. It is first carried from one nervous system to another. People often mistake calm confidence for actual competence. Human beings are surprisingly easy to impress with steadiness. When someone speaks without rushing, holds eye contact without strain, and answers without visible panic, we often assume we are looking at real ability. Sometimes we are. Sometimes we are simply watching composure. That difference matters more than most people realize. In experiments on leadership, persuasion, and group judgment, people regularly rate assured speakers as more capable, even when their information is weak or plainly wrong. A calm delivery can create the feeling of authority before evidence has even arrived. That helps explain why classrooms, offices, and public life can be so strange. The most informed person is not always the one who sounds most certain. It is also why confidence can be socially powerful and socially dangerous. Our brains use smoothness as a shortcut. We hear steadiness and infer skill. Yet true ability often reveals itself later in detail, accuracy, and what happens when pressure tests the surface. Your posture can nudge your mind toward feeling more capable. The body is not just expressing emotion. It is also feeding information back into the brain. When the chest caves in, the head drops, and movement becomes small, the mind often reads that pattern as withdrawal or defeat. When the body opens, lifts, and moves with a little more range, the brain can register a different message. This does not mean posture is a magic trick that turns fear into mastery. It means the nervous system listens to the body's shape. Athletes, actors, musicians, and soldiers have known this in practice for generations. They prepare physically because the body can cue the mind into readiness. Even standing in a more grounded way can change how breathing feels, how the voice lands, and how much space a person believes they are allowed to take up. Sometimes the first step toward feeling more capable is not a grand belief. It is a shoulder dropping, a spine lengthening, and a body deciding not to fold. Confidence spreads through groups faster than most people realize. In a tense room, one person can change the emotional weather. A steady voice, a clear decision, or even a relaxed face can move through a group with startling speed. Human beings are built to read one another constantly. We copy tone, pacing, posture, and attention without noticing it. That means assurance is rarely private. It leaks outward. In emergencies, teams often perform better when one person stays composed enough to make the next move feel possible. In classrooms, one student answering with ease can make others more willing to try. In conversation, visible self-trust can make silence feel less threatening and mistakes less final. The reverse is also true. Panic spreads, hesitation spreads, social fear spreads. That is what makes shared confidence so powerful. It is not merely an individual feeling. It becomes a group condition. Once a few people begin acting as though the moment can be handled, others often find that their own courage rises to meet it. The brain learns confidence from tiny wins, not grand speeches. Motivational language can feel stirring for a moment, but the brain is usually convinced by evidence. Small successes matter because they give the nervous system proof. You tried something difficult. You survived it. You did a little better than before. That sequence teaches far more than a dramatic pep talk. Psychologists sometimes call these mastery experiences, and they are among the strongest builders of real self-belief. A child solves one problem alone. A shy person starts one conversation. A runner finishes one hard session. None of these moments looks world-changing from the outside, yet each one tells the brain something precious. This can be done. I can meet this demand. Confidence often grows in these quiet updates, almost like a ledger being filled in line by line. That is why repeated action matters so much. The mind listens closely to what the body has already managed. Tiny wins do not look impressive. They look believable, and belief is what changes behavior. Fear and confidence can rise together inside the same moment. Many people imagine courage as the point where fear disappears. Real life is usually stranger than that. The surgeon before a difficult operation, the singer waiting in the wings, the firefighter entering a burning building, and the parent making a life-changing decision, they all feel fear intensely. Yet, they act. That is where this becomes truly interesting. Confidence is not always the absence of alarm. Sometimes it is the decision that alarm will not be the final authority. In the brain, threat systems can be active at the same time as circuits involved in goal pursuit, focus, and learnt control. The body may shake while the mind still chooses a direction. This is why brave people do not always look serene up close. Their courage may be happening in the presence of a racing heart and a flooded stomach. The remarkable part is not that fear vanished. It is that another force rose beside it and said, "We are still going forward." Confidence shapes memory, risk, and even what opportunities you notice. What you expect of yourself can quietly alter the world you think you are living in. A person who believes they can probably cope with difficulty tends to notice openings that others miss. They may raise a hand, ask a question, enter a room, or start a conversation that another person talks themselves out of. Over time, that changes experience itself. More chances are taken. More feedback is gathered. More useful memories are created. Then, the cycle strengthens. The brain starts storing a different story about what kind of person you are. This does not mean confidence makes every decision correct. It means it changes the size of the map you think is available. Even memory can bend around this. People with stronger self-belief often recall their agency more vividly, especially in stressful situations. They remember that they acted, adapted, or endured. In that way, confidence does not just affect behavior in the moment. It helps shape the personal history you carry forward. The most confident people are often the best at being teachable. At first glance, that sounds backward. Many people assume confidence means certainty, and certainty often sounds closed. Yet some of the steadiest people in any field are the ones most willing to admit what they do not know. Because their worth is not hanging by a thread, they can afford correction. They can ask questions, revise a method, and let new information in without feeling destroyed by it. That is a very different thing from arrogance, which often depends on appearing untouchable. In medicine, aviation, science, and elite sport, the people who last are rarely the ones who think they are finished. They are the ones who keep learning because they are secure enough to remain unfinished. This may be one of confidence's most elegant forms. Not loudness, not dominance. The ability to keep growing without collapsing when imperfect. Real self-trust can say, "I can handle being wrong." And that makes improvement far easier, because defensiveness no longer blocks the door. Confidence and arrogance come from very different kinds of certainty. From a distance, the two can look almost identical. Both may speak firmly. Both may take up space. Both may appear hard to shake. Yet underneath, they are built from very different foundations. Arrogance usually depends on protecting an image. It needs to look superior, because being ordinary feels unbearable. That is why it often resists questions, correction, or nuance. Real self-trust works another way. It does not need to dominate the room to survive it. A secure person can listen, reconsider, and even say, "I do not know," without feeling erased. That difference becomes obvious under pressure. One style hardens when challenged. The other stays flexible. In everyday life, this matters more than people think. The loudest certainty is not always the strongest. Sometimes it is the most brittle. True steadiness has less to prove. It can be firm without becoming inflated, because its purpose is not to appear untouchable. Its purpose is simply to stay grounded in reality. Your brain updates confidence after success, failure, and surprise. Self-belief is not stored like a fixed trait locked in a box. It behaves more like a live system, one that keeps revising itself as the world answers back. Each attempt gives the brain fresh information. Success can strengthen expectation. Failure can lower it. Surprise may do the most interesting work of all. When something goes much better than expected, the mind can make a sharp upward adjustment. When it goes worse, the opposite happens. Neuroscience often describes learning in terms of prediction and correction. The brain guesses what is likely, compares that guess with reality, then updates. Confidence appears to move through a similar loop. That is why one powerful experience can shift a person so quickly. A student who thought, "I cannot do this," suddenly solves the problem. A speaker expects humiliation, then gets through the talk intact. In a single moment, the mind receives new evidence. And sometimes, new evidence is exactly what allows a new identity to begin. Practice builds confidence fastest when mistakes stay visible and useful. Many people want rehearsal to feel smooth. Yet smooth practice can be strangely deceptive. When errors are hidden, softened, or quickly forgotten, the brain misses some of the very information it needs to improve. Better training often looks less flattering. A musician isolates the difficult bar instead of playing the whole piece. A pilot works through simulated failures. A basketball player repeats the awkward shot that keeps going wrong. In each case, the mistake is not treated as a verdict. It becomes a target. That changes everything. Improvement becomes specific. Confidence then grows on firmer ground because the person has already met the weak point directly. There is a deep psychological comfort in this. You stop needing the fantasy of perfect performance because you have practiced recovery, adjustment, and precision where they were actually needed. The result is not the fragile belief that nothing will go wrong. It is the stronger belief that when something does, you will know what to do next. Confidence often grows when uncertainty becomes familiar, not when it disappears. People often wait to feel ready before they begin. They imagine that one day the fog will clear, every doubt will vanish, and only then will they step forward. Yet real growth tends to happen in a stranger way. Uncertainty remains. The person simply becomes less frightened of living inside it. A doctor in training still faces unknowns. A parent still cannot control everything. An entrepreneur still risks failure. What changes is their relationship to the unknown. They have visited it often enough that it no longer feels like a cliff edge. It feels like terrain. This is one reason repeated exposure matters so much. The first difficult conversation can feel unbearable. The 10th may still be uncomfortable, but it belongs to a world the nervous system now recognizes. That familiarity can be profoundly calming. Confidence does not always arrive as certainty. Sometimes it arrives as companionship with uncertainty, a growing sense that the unknown may still contain challenge, but it no longer contains complete personal collapse. The body can perform confidence before the mind fully believes it. Actors understand this instinctively. So do soldiers on parade, athletes walking onto a field, and musicians stepping into bright light. The body can begin the pattern before conviction catches up. Hands steady the notes. Feet carry the entrance. Shoulders square. Breath deepens. The outward behavior starts first, and sometimes the inner state follows. This is not fake in the trivial sense. It is often a bridge. Human beings do not always feel their way into action. Sometimes they act their way into feeling. A courtroom lawyer may still feel nerves while standing in a composed posture and speaking in measured phrases. A frightened teenager may still walk into the interview and sit upright. These performances matter because the nervous system learns from enacted behavior too. The mind notices what the body has just managed. Over time, repeated performances can become genuine ease. What began as deliberate shaping can slowly become character, until the role once practiced is no longer a role at all. Social confidence relies heavily on reading faces, pauses, and rhythm. Conversation is never just words. It is a stream of tiny signals moving beneath language all the time. A glance held for a second longer than expected. A pause that invites another person in. A smile that says, "The moment is safe." A slight lean forward that signals interest instead of threat. People who seem naturally comfortable with others are often doing something very sophisticated without knowing it. They are reading these cues and adjusting in real time. This makes social assurance less mysterious than it first appears. It is not always a bold personality trait. It can be a skill in timing, perception, and emotional calibration. That is why some people become far more relaxed in conversation as they gain experience. They begin to recognize patterns. They learn when someone is warming, withdrawing, joking, or needing space. The room becomes more legible. And when the social world starts making sense, people often stop feeling as though they are walking through it blindfolded. Rejection stings less when confidence is tied to values. When self-worth depends entirely on approval, every refusal can feel like an earthquake. A failed audition becomes proof of worthlessness. A romantic no becomes a verdict on the whole self. A lost opportunity becomes a collapse of identity. Yet something powerful happens when confidence is rooted elsewhere. If a person knows what they stand for, what kind of work matters to them, or what values they are trying to live by, rejection begins to shrink back to human size. It can still hurt deeply. It simply hurts in a narrower way. One door closed. One person declined. One outcome did not align. This is why values can be such a stabilizing force. They give the self a backbone that praise and disapproval cannot fully control. Many artists, activists, scientists, and athletes survive long stretches of dismissal because they are not only chasing acceptance, they are also serving something larger. And that larger anchor can keep a person upright when applause disappears. Confidence helps people start, even when skill is still catching up. One of its greatest powers is not excellence. It is initiation. It gets the first email sent, the first lesson taken, the first draft written, the first attempt made while ability is still awkward and incomplete. That matters because nearly every admired skill passes through a clumsy beginning hidden from public view. The scientist once misread the equipment. The comedian once died on stage. The swimmer once swallowed water. Without enough self-trust to begin, talent often stays theoretical. This is why modest courage at the start can have such outsized consequences later. It creates access to the repetitions that produce actual ability. In that sense, confidence is often the spark that lets competence eventually exist. People who wait to feel fully qualified before acting may never gather the experience that would have qualified them. The fascinating paradox is that the early version of self-belief is sometimes ahead of the evidence. Yet without that leap, the evidence may never arrive at all. Self-doubt can sharpen performance when it does not take over. A small amount of unease can make people more alert. It can slow reckless decisions, sharpen attention, and push preparation deeper. A violinist who feels no concern may stroll into a performance underprepared. A mountaineer with zero doubt may ignore weather, terrain, and fatigue. Complete certainty is not always a virtue. Sometimes it is the doorway to avoidable disaster. The more interesting state is balanced tension. enough self-trust to act, enough doubt to stay awake. In psychology, high performers often show this blend. They review details carefully, rehearse contingencies, and keep adjusting because part of them knows the margin for error is real. The magic lies in proportion. Once doubt grows too large, it floods the system and begins destroying timing, memory, and nerve. But in smaller doses, it can behave like a focusing lens. It reminds a person that the moment matters. And because it matters, they rise to meet it with greater care than arrogance ever would. One supportive sentence can change confidence for years. Sometimes a turning point enters a life in almost absurdly small form. A teacher says, "You have a real ear for this." A coach says, "I trust you with the final shot." A parent says, "You handle hard things well." The sentence is brief. The effect can be enormous. Human beings are deeply shaped by reflected identity. We often discover parts of ourselves because someone else saw them first and named them aloud. That naming can become a kind of private inheritance. Years later, in a room full of pressure, the old sentence returns. It speaks from memory with surprising authority. This is especially powerful in childhood and adolescence, though it never truly stops mattering. One believable piece of encouragement can interrupt a harsher inner story before it hardens. Of course, empty praise does not work the same way. The words that endure are usually specific and credible. They feel earned. And because they feel earned, they can go on living in a person long after the speaker is gone. Confidence in children grows through challenge, not constant praise. It is tempting to protect young people from frustration. Adults want to encourage, soothe, and reassure. Yet when approval is given for everything, something important can be lost. The child may feel briefly pleased, but not genuinely stronger. Lasting self-belief usually comes from meeting difficulty and discovering, piece by piece, that it can be handled. A tower falls, then gets rebuilt. A bicycle wobbles, then steadies. A hard sum remains hard, until one day it does not. These moments are formative because they produce evidence. The child is not only being told they are capable, they are encountering capability directly. This has a deep effect on development. The brain learns that effort can change outcomes. Frustration becomes survivable. Failure becomes temporary. In that sense, challenge is not the enemy of confidence. It is one of its architects. What matters most is not removing every obstacle. It is making sure the child faces obstacles in an environment where support exists, but rescue does not erase growth. Overpraise can make confidence fragile when difficulty finally arrives. There is a kind of encouragement that sounds positive but creates a hidden trap. When children are praised too broadly, too constantly, or for qualities that seem fixed, they may begin to feel that success must always come easily. They start protecting the image rather than developing the skill. Then, when genuine difficulty appears, the experience can feel shocking. A once praised student avoids harder work. A talented athlete crumbles after an ordinary mistake. A child who heard, "You are brilliant," now secretly fears any challenge that might disprove it. This is not because praise is bad. It is because praise shapes the meaning of struggle. If approval teaches that worth depends on effortless success, then difficulty becomes dangerous. Better encouragement points toward process, patience, and recovery. It tells the person that effort is not evidence of weakness, but part of growth itself. Without that lesson, confidence may look bright in easy moments, then crack the first time the world stops offering applause. Mastery experiences are among confidence's strongest builders. There is nothing quite as convincing as lived proof. A person can hear encouragement for years and still remain unsure, yet one direct success in a demanding situation can alter self-belief almost instantly. This is what psychologists mean by mastery experience. You do the thing under conditions that matter and discover that you can. The first swim across deep water. The first speech completed despite shaking hands. The first difficult exam passed after genuine struggle. These moments often stay vivid because they are more than achievements. They are revisions of identity. The mind now has evidence that cannot be argued away so easily. It says, "This was once outside me, and now it belongs to my experience." That is why structured challenge is so valuable in teaching, therapy, sport, and training. It creates opportunities for people to meet something real and emerge changed. A mastery experience does not merely decorate confidence. It gives it a foundation because the body remembers what the mind once doubted. Watching someone like you succeed can quietly raise your own confidence. Human beings learn not only from direct experience, but from witnessing possibility in other people. This becomes especially powerful when the person you are watching feels recognizably close to your own life. Same background, same accent, same fear, same age, same visible struggle. Suddenly, the achievement no longer belongs to a distant world of extraordinary people. It becomes imaginable. Psychologists call this vicarious learning, and it can have a remarkable effect on what someone believes is open to them. A student who sees another student from a similar path excel may begin trying harder. A new employee watches someone once equally unsure grow into authority. A young athlete sees a body like theirs succeed in a sport once thought closed to them. The importance of representation lives here, not as a slogan, but as a nervous system event. Possibility becomes concrete. The ceiling lifts. Sometimes a person does not need a speech. They need an example that whispers, "This road is real, and you are allowed on it." Confidence is often heard in the rhythm of speech, not just the tone. When people think about sounding assured, they usually focus on pitch or volume. Yet timing may matter even more. A person who answers too fast can sound defensive. A person who hesitates too long can sound uncertain, even when they know exactly what they mean. Confidence often lives in rhythm. It appears in the pause before a reply, the steadiness between phrases, and the lack of frantic rushing to fill silence. This is one reason trained speakers, broadcasters, trial lawyers, and skilled teachers can feel so persuasive. They do not merely sound strong. They control tempo. They let ideas land. The ear picks up that pacing before the mind fully explains why it seems convincing. Babies do something similar when listening to caregivers. Long before they understand verbs, they respond to cadence, tension, and timing. Adults never lose that sensitivity. We hear self-trust not only in what is said, but in the calm space a person is willing to leave around their words. Confidence grows differently in classrooms, friendships, sports, and work. It may sound like one trait, but it behaves more like a family of related experiences. A child who speaks boldly among friends may fall silent in maths. An exceptional athlete may feel lost at work. A gifted manager may struggle in intimate relationships. This is because self-belief is shaped by context. Each setting asks for different signals, different memories, and different kinds of risk. In one place, the body recalls success. In another, it remembers embarrassment. That is why people can feel strangely divided, powerful in one arena and hesitant in another, without any contradiction at all. The brain does not create one giant universal judgment and stamp it over life. It builds more local maps. This can be discouraging, but it is also hopeful. Weakness in one domain does not prove weakness everywhere. Growth can begin in specific places. And once a person sees that confidence has contexts, they often stop treating it like a mysterious essence and start treating it like something trainable. People trust confident speakers more, even before checking the facts. The human mind loves shortcuts, especially in fast social situations. One of the most influential is delivery. When a speaker sounds settled, answers quickly, and avoids visible strain, listeners often feel a wave of trust before the content has truly been tested. This happens in boardrooms, elections, classrooms, interviews, and ordinary conversation. The effect can be so strong that people remember certainty more vividly than evidence. It is part of why misinformation can spread so effectively through poised voices. Our brains are constantly asking, does this person seem like they know? And sometimes, stop there. Yet this tendency did not arise by accident. Across human history, quick judgments about assurance may have helped groups follow decisive people in moments of danger. The modern problem is that style can now outpace truth. A polished voice can outrun reality for quite a while. That makes social life both fascinating and risky. We are not only persuaded by logic, we are persuaded by how safe conviction sounds. A shaky voice can still carry real confidence underneath. Many people think visible nerves disqualify courage. They hear a tremor and assume weakness. Yet the body does not always cooperate with the deeper intention of the person inside it. A voice may quiver because adrenaline is rising, breath is adjusting, or muscles are carrying strain. None of that necessarily means the person lacks resolve. In fact, some of the bravest moments in life sound exactly like this. A witness tells the truth while shaking. A teenager makes a painful confession with an unsteady throat. A leader speaks after loss and the voice catches, but the message continues. That is not failure. That is courage in audible form. It reveals something many people never learned soon enough, which is that confidence does not always look polished. Sometimes it looks like trembling persistence. The body shows effort. The self stays committed. Once people understand this, they often become freer. They stop waiting for perfect smoothness and begin recognizing that steadiness can exist even while the sound itself still quivers. Confidence often returns faster after action than after rumination. When self-belief drops, the instinct is often to think harder. People replay the mistake, analyze the feeling, and search for a mental path back to certainty. Yet this can become a trap. The more the mind circles the loss, the larger it can grow. Action often works differently. A person takes one step, however small, and the nervous system receives fresh information. The feared task is entered again. The avoided email gets sent. The difficult skill gets practiced. Even one clean repetition can begin restoring a sense of traction. This is not because reflection has no value. Reflection matters. But confidence is unusually responsive to evidence generated in the present. Movement interrupts the spell of helplessness in a way thinking alone often cannot. That is why coaches, therapists, and teachers so often nudge people toward doable action instead of endless inner debate. The self begins to return not because the perfect thought was found, but because the body discovered that it could still participate. Familiar routines can create a surprising feeling of personal steadiness. There is something quietly powerful about repetition done on purpose. A tennis player bounces the ball the same way before serving. A singer warms up in the same sequence. A surgeon washes, checks, and arranges instruments in a practiced order. These rituals may look small from the outside, yet they can have a major effect on the nervous system. Routine reduces needless uncertainty. It tells the brain, "We have entered known territory," and that message can conserve precious attention for what truly matters. This is why preparation habits become treasured in high-pressure fields. They are not superstition alone, though superstition sometimes sneaks in. They are structure. They make the beginning legible. In daily life, the same principle appears in less dramatic ways. A familiar notebook, a repeated breathing pattern, a regular walk before a challenge. Such acts can steady identity itself. They remind the person who they are when demands rise. Through rhythm, the self becomes easier to access. Confidence is easier to keep when identity feels broader than performance. When the whole self is poured into one role, one test, or one outcome, every result becomes dangerously heavy. The athlete is nothing but the match. The student is nothing but the grade. The entrepreneur is nothing but the company. Under those conditions, even ordinary setbacks can feel existential. A wider identity changes that. The person is still deeply invested, but not reduced to a single scoreboard. They are also a friend, a learner, a parent, a neighbor, a person with values, humor, memory, and life beyond the current trial. This broader sense of self acts almost like shock absorption. Failure can still disappoint, even devastate, yet it does not erase the entire person. That makes resilience easier. It also reduces the panicked need to prove worth in every single moment. Some of the steadiest performers cultivate this on purpose. They care fiercely, but they refuse to become only one thing. In doing so, they protect the very self-belief that narrow identity so often destroys. The teenage brain can make confidence feel unusually unstable. Adolescence can make self-belief feel like weather. One day a teenager seems bold, funny, and unstoppable. The next day the same person can feel exposed by a glance, a silence, or one awkward sentence at lunch. That instability is not simply immaturity. It reflects a brain passing through an intense period of remodeling. Reward systems become highly sensitive. Social feedback lands with unusual force. Long-term regulation is still developing. In practical terms, this means praise can feel enormous, rejection can feel world-ending, and identity can shift with startling speed. A teenager may not be imagining that everything feels heightened. It really does. The social world becomes louder inside the nervous system. That is why adolescence is such a dramatic training ground for confidence. It is the period when people begin building a self under conditions of strong emotion, rapid change, and relentless comparison. The miracle is not that teenagers feel unstable. The miracle is that a stable adult self so often emerges from that storm. Puberty changes how confidence is felt, shown, and protected. Puberty is not only a change in size, shape, and chemistry. It is a change in how a person occupies the social world. A body begins to attract attention, judgment, desire, teasing, expectation, and comparison in new ways. That can alter confidence from the inside out. A teenager who once moved freely may suddenly become self-conscious. Another may discover new boldness because their body now matches how they want to be seen. Hormonal shifts can intensify emotion, increase sensitivity, and make embarrassment feel physically overwhelming. At the same time, appearance starts affecting status more openly. Voice, height, skin, timing, and physical development can all influence how confident someone appears to others and how safe they feel in themselves. This is why puberty often changes not just mood, but strategy. Some adolescents become louder, Some hide. Some perform indifference. Some chase approval fiercely. Underneath all of it, the self is learning how to live inside a body that has suddenly become publicly visible. Social media can distort confidence by turning life into comparison. For most of human history, people compared themselves with a limited circle. Family, classmates, neighbors, co-workers. Now a person can wake up and compare their face, success, wealth, body, friendships, and talent with thousands of edited lives before breakfast. That changes confidence in a profound way. The mind begins measuring itself against performances, not ordinary reality. Someone else's polished highlight reel starts standing in for your idea of what normal should look like. This can make steady, healthy self-belief much harder to maintain. Even achievements lose some of their weight because there is always another image, another victory, another person who seems further ahead. The strange part is that the comparison often continues even when people know the content is curated. Knowledge alone does not cancel emotional impact. The nervous system still reacts. It still ranks. It still wonders whether it is falling behind. In that environment, confidence is not only challenged by difficulty, it is challenged by constant exposure to impossible standards. Confidence falls fastest when people confuse worth with popularity. Popularity can feel like proof. More attention, more invitations, more approval, more visible signs that others want you nearby. Yet it is a shaky foundation for self-belief because it depends so heavily on trends, group moods, and forces that have little to do with deep value. When people start treating social ranking as personal worth, confidence becomes dangerously unstable. A room turning away can feel like life itself turning away. This is especially powerful in adolescence, though adults are not immune. Whole identities can begin orbiting around being liked, chosen, reposted, admired, or included. Then the inner life becomes vulnerable to every shift in social weather. One quiet weekend can feel like failure. One lost friendship can feel like erasure. Real steadiness needs stronger roots than this. It needs values, character, and relationships that are not based on public ranking. Popularity may feel intoxicating, but it is often a poor guardian of the self. It can rise quickly, vanish quickly, and take borrowed confidence with it. Belonging can strengthen confidence before achievement ever appears. One of the most overlooked sources of self-belief is not success, but welcome. A person walks into a room and feels that they are allowed to be there. That feeling alone can change how they think, speak, learn, and try. Before any award is won or skill is proven, belonging can loosen fear's grip. Students participate more when they feel included. New workers contribute sooner when the culture makes space for them. Children take healthier risks when they sense they are securely held inside a family, team, or classroom. This happens because belonging reduces the background threat of exclusion. The mind is no longer spending so much energy wondering, do I fit here at all? That freed attention can then move toward curiosity, effort, and growth. In that sense, confidence is sometimes less an individual possession than a social gift. People often bloom not because they suddenly became extraordinary, but because an environment quietly told them, you do not have to earn your right to exist here. Loneliness can quietly erode confidence from the inside. Isolation does more than hurt. It alters how a person interprets the world. When loneliness settles in, the mind often becomes more vigilant for rejection, more doubtful of welcome, and more likely to misread neutral moments as signs of being unwanted. Over time, that can chip away at confidence in subtle but powerful ways. A person may speak less, not because they have nothing to say, but because they no longer expect a good response. They may stop initiating, stop risking, stop showing parts of themselves that once moved freely. This is one reason loneliness can become self-reinforcing. It weakens the very social boldness needed to escape it. The saddest part is how invisible this often is from the outside. Someone may look quiet, reserved, or simply private, while internally their sense of social safety is shrinking. Confidence is not only damaged by dramatic humiliation. It can also be worn down by the long absence of warmth, reciprocity, and human recognition. Sleep loss makes people feel less certain about their own abilities. After too little sleep, the world often seems harder, sharper, and less forgiving. Simple tasks feel heavier. Small setbacks seem more meaningful. Memory slips appear more often. In that state, confidence can drop fast. This is not always because ability has vanished. It is because exhaustion changes how ability is felt. The brain becomes less efficient at attention, emotional control, and flexible thinking. That means the person is more likely to second-guess, panic early, and interpret strain as proof they are failing. Even familiar skills can start feeling strangely unreliable. A student who knows the material may blank more easily. An athlete may feel slower and more doubtful. A leader may become less decisive. Sleep is fascinating in this way because it quietly props up self-belief from below. When rest is present, the mind feels more coherent. When rest is missing, the self can feel less trustworthy. Confidence is often imagined as psychological, yet sometimes it is sitting in last night's missing hours. Chronic stress can make confidence feel harder to access. Stress is useful in short bursts. It sharpens attention and prepares action. But when it becomes constant, it starts changing the emotional climate a person lives inside. The body remains on alert. Recovery becomes incomplete. Threat feels nearer than it is. Under those conditions, confidence may not disappear entirely, but it can become harder to reach. Someone who is fully capable may begin feeling less resourceful, simply because their nervous system is tired of bracing. This can happen in overworked parents, students under relentless pressure, caregivers, soldiers, medics, and anyone living for too long in uncertainty or overload. The fascinating part is that confidence is not always solved by more willpower in these moments. Sometimes the real issue is that the system has been carrying too much for too long. When chronic stress lifts, people are often surprised to find that steadiness returns with it. The ability was not gone. It was buried under physiological wear, like a clear signal muffled by constant noise. Anxiety can mimic intuition and make confidence seem reckless. Anxious minds are often brilliant at generating warnings. They notice risk quickly, imagine consequences vividly, and produce a powerful feeling that something is wrong. The difficulty is that this feeling can masquerade as wisdom. It can sound like instinct, like caution, like deep inner knowing, when in fact it is fear projecting certainty onto the unknown. A person may think, I should not go, I should not speak, I should not try, because something feels off. Sometimes something is off. Often the body is simply flooded. This is what makes anxiety so confusing. It does not arrive wearing a label. It often arrives sounding sensible. Then confidence begins to look foolish, because moving forward feels like ignoring an internal alarm. Learning the difference between intuition and anxiety is one of the great tasks of adulthood. Intuition tends to be clearer, quieter, and more specific. Anxiety is often urgent, repetitive, and hungry for escape. Confusing the two can quietly shrink a life. Confidence often improves when the nervous system feels physically safe. Before the mind can take risks, the body often needs a baseline sense of safety. This is more literal than it sounds. If a room feels hostile, a home feels unpredictable, or a body feels chronically under threat, self-belief can struggle to bloom. The nervous system is busy with survival. In those states, hesitation may not be a flaw in character at all. It may be a realistic response to instability. This is why people often become more capable, more social, and more daring after moving into safer relationships, safer homes, or safer environments. The change can look dramatic, almost like personality transformation. Yet what may really be happening is release. The body no longer has to spend so much energy scanning for danger. That creates space for play, curiosity, and initiative. Confidence then begins to emerge naturally. In this way, self-belief is not always built by pushing harder. Sometimes it is revealed when the conditions around a person stop teaching the body to brace. Breathing slowly can make confidence easier to retrieve under pressure. Breath is one of the fastest ways to speak to the nervous system without using words. Under pressure, people tend to breathe high, fast, and shallow. That pattern can intensify the sense that something is wrong, which then feeds more panic, tighter muscles, and a shrinking sense of control. Slowing the breath can interrupt that spiral. A longer exhale in particular can help signal that the body is not in immediate mortal danger, even if the situation still matters deeply. This does not magically solve the challenge. It changes the state from which the challenge is met. A speaker can find their voice sooner. A competitor can recover between points. A frightened person can think again. What is so striking is how physical confidence can be. It is not only a narrative in the head. It is also carbon dioxide, muscle tone, pulse, and breath rhythm. Sometimes the doorway back to self-trust is not a better thought. It is air moving more slowly through a body that is learning not to rush. Exercise can raise confidence by changing both mood and interpretation. Movement does more than strengthen muscle. It changes how effort is experienced. After exercise, people often feel not only more energized, but more capable of meeting demands that once felt heavy. Part of this is chemical. Mood can lift. Tension can drop. Attention can sharpen. Yet, part of it is interpretive. The body has just done something difficult on purpose. It has generated strain, survived it, and come through the other side. That matters psychologically. Effort begins to feel less like evidence of weakness and more like a normal part of growth. Even a short session can produce a subtle shift in self-perception. The person feels more awake inside themselves. This is one reason physical training often spills into confidence outside sport. The runner becomes more willing to tackle work stress. The lifter speaks up more in meetings. The walker feels less trapped by lethargy and doubt. Movement can teach a powerful lesson. Difficulty is not always a signal to stop. Sometimes it is a sign you are alive and adapting. Small acts of courage teach the brain what confidence feels like. Most people imagine bravery as something dramatic, running into danger, standing before crowds, making history in public. But the brain often learns courage through far smaller moments. You tell the truth in a hard conversation. You ask the question you feared would sound foolish. You return to the place where you once felt embarrassed. You make the call, send the application, or walk through the door. These acts may seem minor from the outside, yet they can be neurologically important. Each one pairs fear with forward motion. The system learns that discomfort and action can coexist. Over time, that pairing becomes familiar, and familiar things tend to feel less impossible. This is one reason confidence often grows quietly. It is built from many ordinary crossings, not one cinematic leap. the person begins to recognize a pattern in themselves. I can feel resistance and still move. Once that pattern becomes believable, a new kind of self-trust starts forming, one rooted in experience rather than fantasy. Confidence in public speaking often begins with surviving the first minute. For many people, the first minute is the real mountain. Before it, the body may be in open revolt. Dry mouth, tight throat, trembling hands, a heart that seems to be performing for the audience too. Then the speaking begins, and something interesting can happen. If the person gets through the opening, the nervous system often starts recalibrating. The feared catastrophe did not happen immediately. The room did not explode. The voice, however shaky, remained available. That first survival changes the next few minutes. Breathing settles. Attention shifts from self-monitoring toward message. Rhythm begins to appear. This is why experienced speakers often care so much about the opening lines. They are not only delivering content, they are building a bridge across the body's initial alarm. Once the bridge is crossed, confidence can start gathering almost in real time. Public speaking is therefore less like flipping a switch and more like taking off in rough air. The hardest lift often comes right at the beginning. Stage fright and confidence can exist in the same performer. From the audience, composure can look complete. The singer steps into light. The actor delivers the opening line. The pianist places both hands on the keys. Yet backstage, moments earlier, the same performer may have been sweating, pacing, trembling, or fighting the urge to flee. This is one of the most fascinating truths about performance. Fear does not always vanish with expertise. It may remain for decades. What changes is the relationship to it. Skilled performers learn the shape of their own fear. They know when it rises, how it moves through the body, and what happens if they keep going anyway. Confidence, then, is not the elimination of stage fright. It is the growing knowledge that stage fright is survivable and temporary. Some even learn to use the energy inside it, converting agitation into intensity, focus, and presence. That is why a confident performer may still feel terrified before going on. The fear is real. The trust is simply stronger and better trained. Rehearsal builds confidence best when it resembles the real moment. Practice that is too comfortable can create illusions. The person feels fluent in the quiet room, then unravels when noise, timing, stakes, and unpredictability enter. This is why the most effective rehearsal often includes some version of reality itself. Pilots train in simulators that imitate failure. Athletes practice under time pressure and fatigue. Musicians run full performances, not just fragments. Speakers stand up, use the room, and hear their own voices in open space. The goal is not to make preparation miserable. It is to make it honest. Confidence grows more solid when the nervous system has already met something close to the real demand. Then the event feels less like an alien invasion and more like a known variation. This principle applies far beyond elite performance. Job interviews, difficult conversations, exams, even apologies benefit from rehearsal that includes actual conditions. The mind trusts what it has encountered before. The more realistic the preparation, the less shocking the moment of truth tends to be. Athletes train confidence by practicing under pressure, not comfort. The final seconds of a match do not feel like an ordinary afternoon drill. They feel loud, fast, and painfully significant. That is why serious training often tries to recreate pressure rather than avoid it. Coaches add time limits, consequences, fatigue, competition, and public stakes. A player takes free throws after sprints when the legs shake and the lungs burn. A goalkeeper faces penalties with teammates watching. A sprinter rehearses, starts again and again, so that reaction becomes trustworthy when nerves hit. This kind of practice does something crucial. It teaches the body that performance can still happen while arousal is high. The athlete stops assuming that calm must come first. Instead, they learn that action can stay precise inside discomfort. That is a deeper form of confidence than simple positive thinking. It is built on exposure, repetition, and recovery under load. When the real moment arrives, the pressure is still real. It just no longer feels completely unfamiliar. Confidence in music often depends on recovery, not perfection. A live performance is a river that keeps moving. One note cracks, one entry slips, one finger lands a fraction late, and the music continues anyway. This is why great musical confidence is not simply the ability to avoid mistakes. It is the ability to recover without panic. The audience often notices far less than the performer fears, unless the performer announces the error by collapsing around it. Seasoned musicians know this. They learn to keep pulse, shape, and intention alive even when something goes wrong. In many ways, that is the real art under pressure. Not flawlessness, but continuity. The mind has to stay with the phrase ahead instead of getting trapped by the note behind. This requires trust, flexibility, and a deep relationship with time itself. Once musicians discover that the performance can survive an imperfection, they often become freer. The terror of one wrong moment loosens. What remains is something stronger than perfectionism, which is the confidence to keep the music alive. Dancers build confidence through repetition until movement becomes trust. Dance asks the body to do something extraordinary. It must think, feel, balance, time, remember, and express all at once, often while being watched. At first, this can make movement feel fragile. Every step is conscious. Every turn is a question. But repetition begins to change the relationship. The body learns where the floor is. It learns how momentum behaves. It learns that balance can be lost and found inside the same phrase. Over time, movement stops feeling like a command issued from the mind and starts becoming something more unified. Trust appears. Not because the dancer believes blindly, but because the body has practiced the pattern so deeply that it can now respond without constant negotiation. This is one reason dance can look so fearless when performed well. What appears effortless is usually the result of countless encounters with wobble, error, and correction. Confidence in dance is not a mood laid on top. It is memory written into muscle and rhythm. Performers seem fearless mostly because they know how fear behaves. The audience often mistakes familiarity for fearlessness. A comedian walks on stage. A conductor lifts a hand. A seasoned actor waits in the wings with an almost casual face. It can look like fear has been conquered entirely. More often, what has really happened is that fear has become recognizable. The performer knows the quickened pulse, the dry mouth, the odd sharpened senses, the sudden urge to escape. None of it is new anymore. This matters enormously, because unfamiliar sensations feel dangerous in ways familiar ones do not. Once fear has a pattern, it becomes easier to manage. The person can say, "This is the rush before I begin, not the sign that I should run." That reframe is powerful. It turns panic from prophecy into process. Many performers do not seem fearless because they feel nothing. They seem fearless because they have met the same storm so many times that they can work inside it without letting it name the outcome. Confidence changes how pain, effort, and fatigue are interpreted. Two people can face the same strain and experience it very differently. One feels the burn in the muscles and reads it as danger, proof that they are failing or reaching a limit too soon. The other feels the same sensation and reads it as progress, effort, or meaningful challenge. That difference in interpretation can shape endurance, performance, and recovery in remarkable ways. Coaches, soldiers, climbers, and endurance athletes see this constantly. The body sends signals, but the mind helps decide what those signals mean. When self-belief is stronger, effort often feels more purposeful and less threatening. Fatigue still exists. Pain still matters. Yet it is less likely to be mistaken for personal inadequacy. This does not mean confidence makes people invincible. It means it changes the story attached to strain. And the story matters. A person who believes hardship can be handled will often stay engaged longer than someone who reads the same discomfort as a warning that they were never built for the task. Belief in improvement can make difficult tasks feel more possible. Some challenges feel impossible not because they truly are, but because the mind has already decided that ability is fixed. Once that belief settles in, effort changes character. Practice feels humiliating. Mistakes feel like exposure. Difficulty feels like a verdict. Yet when people believe growth is possible, the same hard task begins to look different. The climb is still steep, but it no longer proves doom. It becomes part of the path. This shift can be surprisingly powerful in classrooms, training halls, studios, and workplaces. A child who thinks, "I am just bad at this," often withdraws quickly. A child who thinks, "I do not know this yet," can stay in the struggle longer. That extra time matters because skill often appears after the moment when fixed thinking would have quit. Hope changes perseverance, and perseverance changes results. In that sense, belief in improvement is not just comforting. It is practical. It reshapes the meaning of difficulty before success has even arrived. Confidence helps people tolerate the awkwardness of being a beginner. Beginnings are rarely graceful. The first tennis serve flies sideways. The first language lesson feels like chewing stones. The first attempt at drawing a face looks uncanny and wrong. This awkward stage drives many people away before real learning has even begun. What keeps others in the game is often not talent, but the ability to endure looking unpolished for a while. That is where confidence becomes unexpectedly important. It allows a person to survive the early mismatch between desire and ability without concluding that the whole pursuit was a mistake. Beginners live in a strange territory. They care enough to try, yet cannot yet do the thing in a way that matches their taste. That gap can feel embarrassing, even painful. Self-trust helps bridge it. It says, "This clumsiness is temporary. Stay here. Learn through it." Some of the most capable people in the world became so not because they avoided awkwardness, but because they were willing to be visibly bad long enough to become good. Humility can protect confidence by keeping setbacks from becoming identity. Humility is often mistaken for low self-esteem, when in fact it can be one of confidence's strongest allies. A humble person does not need every outcome to confirm greatness. That makes failure easier to survive. If a project goes badly, a humble mind is more likely to say, "Something went wrong here," rather than, "I am broken at the core." This distinction is enormous. Setbacks stay specific. They remain events, not definitions. Humility also keeps the self from growing so inflated that ordinary correction feels like attack. In science, medicine, sport, and art, the people who endure for decades often have this trait. They care deeply, but they do not treat every stumble as a threat to existence. That gives them room to adjust, learn, and continue. Paradoxically, the less a person needs to feel superior, the more stable their confidence can become. Humility lowers the emotional stakes of imperfection, and in doing so, it protects the steady self-belief required for long growth. Confident people often ask better questions, not fewer. Many people assume self-assurance means having answers ready at all times. Yet in classrooms, laboratories, boardrooms, and workshops, some of the strongest minds reveal themselves through questions. Not frantic ones asked to hide insecurity, but clear ones asked because the person is secure enough to expose what is still unknown. A weak ego often fears questions because questions can make ignorance visible. A steadier ego uses them to make reality visible. This difference changes learning dramatically. The confident learner wants clarity more than image. They ask what the rule is, where the weak point lies, what assumption is being made, and what nobody has tested yet. That openness can make them look less certain in the moment, while actually making them far more capable over time. Curiosity has room to breathe because self-worth is not threatened by not knowing. In that sense, better questions are a sign of confidence, not despite their uncertainty, but because the person is strong enough to walk directly into uncertainty. Curiosity and confidence make a powerful pair in learning. Curiosity pulls a person toward the unknown. Confidence helps them stay there long enough to understand it. Separated, each quality has limits. Curiosity without self-trust may lead to fascinated retreat. The person wonders, explores briefly, then backs away once confusion appears. Confidence without curiosity can become rigid and dull, more interested in preserving status than discovering anything new. Together, they create a different kind of learner, one who is eager, resilient, and alive to surprise. This pairing drives some of the most exciting human pursuits. Scientific discovery, adventurous art, deep scholarship, and real craftsmanship all depend on it. The learner must want to know, and also believe that not knowing is survivable. Children often show this combination naturally, until fear of looking foolish begins to choke one side of it. The task in adulthood is often to recover the alliance, to remain intrigued while also remaining brave. When those two forces meet, learning stops feeling like a test of worth and starts feeling like an expedition. Confidence can rise when people understand the rules of a system. Uncertainty feels very different when it is mysterious than when it is merely difficult. Many people grow more confident not because the task itself changes, but because the structure around it becomes legible. Once you understand how grading works, how promotion works, how the audition is judged, how the machine responds, or how the game is scored, the mind can begin orienting itself. Fear drops because chaos drops. This is one reason newcomers often seem less confident in systems that veterans navigate with ease. The veterans do not possess magic. They know where the doors are, what matters most, and how consequences are actually assigned. Knowledge of structure creates a kind of psychological foothold. It lets effort become strategic instead of random. This matters in education, work, law, medicine, and social institutions of every kind. People often appear more self-assured once the hidden rules stop being hidden. Sometimes confidence is not waiting for courage. It is waiting for a map. Unclear expectations can shrink confidence faster than poor ability. A person can work hard and still feel lost if they do not know what success actually looks like. In fact, unclear expectations can be more damaging than a difficult task, because difficulty at least has a shape. Ambiguity spreads in every direction. The student does not know what the teacher wants. The employee does not know what counts as good work. The child does not know which behavior will bring approval and which will bring criticism. Under those conditions, even capable people start hesitating. They second-guess every move, not because they lack skill, but because the target keeps moving or was never visible in the first place. This can quietly erode self-belief. The person stops trusting their own judgment because the system has not given them stable information. Clear expectations do something surprisingly kind. They make courage usable. Once the goal is understandable, ability can organize itself around it. Confidence often grows not from making life easy, but from making standards clear enough to pursue honestly. Feedback builds confidence only when it feels specific and believable. People do not grow from praise alone. They grow from information they can trust. A vague compliment may feel nice for a moment, but it rarely changes the deeper architecture of self-belief. Specific feedback does. When someone hears your opening was strong because you slowed down and let the point land, or this paragraph works because the idea stays clear all the way through, the mind receives something usable. It can connect effort to outcome. It can repeat what helped. The same is true of correction. If criticism is concrete and fair, it may sting, but it also offers direction. Believable feedback has a grounded quality. It sounds like the speaker was actually paying attention. That makes it far more powerful than generic approval or careless judgment. Confidence grows best when people know what they did well, why it worked, and what to adjust next. In this sense, honest specificity is generous. It treats growth as real and gives the person something solid to build from. Vague encouragement rarely strengthens confidence for very long. General encouragement can warm the heart, but its effects often fade quickly if nothing concrete supports it. A person hears, "You have got this," or "You are amazing," and for a moment, the words lift them. Then the challenge returns, unchanged and specific, while the encouragement remains abstract. The mind begins asking for evidence. What exactly am I doing well? What part is improving? What skill is growing? Without answers, the praise can start sounding decorative rather than trustworthy. This is why vague encouragement sometimes leaves people feeling oddly emptier than before. It touches emotion without guiding action. Stronger confidence usually needs something more grounded. It needs details, proof, or lived experience that can survive contact with difficulty. The most helpful encouragement often sounds almost modest. It points to something real. You handled that calmly. You stayed with the problem longer. Your timing improved. Those kinds of observations endure because they connect belief to reality. And reality, once named clearly, is much harder to shake. Confidence at work often depends on whether mistakes feel survivable. Offices have emotional climates just as much as homes or classrooms do. In some workplaces, one error feels like a disaster. People hide uncertainty, avoid initiative, and protect themselves constantly. In others, errors still matter, but they can be examined, repaired, and learned from without immediate humiliation or ruin. The difference is huge. When mistakes feel survivable, people become more willing to try, ask, solve, and speak. They can direct more energy toward the work itself instead of toward self-protection. This does not mean standards become soft. In fact, healthy workplaces often care deeply about quality. What changes is the meaning of imperfection. It becomes information, not instant catastrophe. That shift can unlock confidence across an entire team. A junior employee asks the important question. A manager admits uncertainty before it becomes a larger problem. A new idea gets proposed instead of hidden. Work confidence is therefore never only personal. It is also shaped by whether the environment allows human beings to remain human while learning. Psychological safety can unlock confidence across an entire team. Some groups become markedly smarter the moment people stop fearing one another. When team members believe they can speak honestly, admit confusion, raise concerns, and offer imperfect ideas without being mocked or punished, something remarkable happens. Intelligence that was already present becomes usable. This is psychological safety, and it is one of the hidden engines of collective confidence. In teams that lack it, people often stay quiet not because they have nothing to contribute, but because the cost of contribution feels too high. A question might sound naive. A warning might irritate a superior. A suggestion might invite ridicule. Once that fear dominates, the group begins losing access to its own knowledge. Teams with safety do not become gentle clouds of agreement. They often disagree more openly. The crucial difference is that challenge happens without interpersonal threat dominating every exchange. In that environment, confidence spreads beyond individuals. It becomes a property of the whole group because people trust that speaking up will not cost them their dignity. Leaders lend confidence by staying steady in uncertainty. The most stabilizing leaders are not always the loudest or most dramatic. Often they are the ones who can remain composed while reality is still unclear. This steadiness matters because groups look upward during uncertainty, searching faces, voices, and decisions for cues about how alarmed they should be. A leader who panics, blames, or performs false certainty can make confusion far worse. A steadier leader does something more useful. They acknowledge what is not known, clarify what is known, and keep attention focused on the next workable step. This kind of presence can transform the emotional tone of a crisis. It does not erase fear. It makes fear manageable. In hospitals, expeditions, military units, and ordinary workplaces, people often remember this quality long after details are forgotten. They remember who made the room feel more navigable. That is leadership at one of its deepest levels. Not pretending uncertainty has vanished, but lending enough steadiness that others can keep functioning while the path ahead is still forming. Confidence in groups often rises when roles become clear. Confusion about responsibility can quietly poison courage. When nobody knows who should decide, who should speak, who should check the details, or who should act first, hesitation spreads fast. People begin watching one another instead of moving. The group grows oddly passive, even if every individual is capable. Clear roles change that almost instantly. Once responsibility is visible, action becomes easier to initiate. The medic knows what to monitor. The captain knows what to call. The teacher knows what to lead. The assistant knows what to prepare. This does more than improve coordination. It affects confidence itself because uncertainty narrows. A person can step into a defined task without carrying the full chaos of the whole situation. In high-pressure environments, this becomes especially important. Good teams often look confident not because each person feels invincible, but because each person knows where their lane begins and ends. Clarity reduces noise. And once the noise drops, people often discover they are braver than they had seemed. One dominant voice can silence confidence in everyone else. Not all confidence strengthens a group. Sometimes one powerful presence takes up so much space that other minds begin folding inward. A dominant voice may interrupt constantly, dismiss uncertainty, answer too quickly, or frame disagreement as weakness. In those environments, quieter people often stop contributing, even when they hold crucial information. The group then mistakes volume for intelligence and certainty for truth. This is one of the hidden ways confidence can distort collective judgment. A room may look decisive, while actually becoming less wise. The loss is not only emotional, it is practical. Ideas vanish. Warnings go unspoken. Creative options shrink. Often the most thoughtful team members are the first to go silent because they are sensitive to cost and do not enjoy fighting for airtime. Healthy groups learn to protect against this. They create pauses, invite dissent, and make room for unfinished thoughts. Real collective confidence does not belong to the loudest person. It belongs to the room's ability to hear from more than one mind. Good mentors build confidence without making people dependent. There is a delicate art to guidance. A weak mentor may offer too little and leave the learner drifting. A controlling mentor may offer so much direction that the learner never develops trust in their own judgment. The best mentors do something subtler. They support without swallowing the other person's agency. They give perspective, structure, and challenge. Then gradually return responsibility to the learner in ways the learner can bear. This creates a special kind of confidence because the person feels accompanied, but not carried forever. They begin making decisions, testing instincts, and surviving consequences with a stronger sense of authorship. Good mentoring often includes one crucial message beneath all the practical advice. You can learn to do this without me. That message is powerful because it prevents admiration from becoming reliance. The goal is not to produce someone who always needs reassurance from above. The goal is to help another person stand more solidly in their own capacity, long after the mentor is no longer in the room. Confidence grows when people can see their own progress clearly. Progress is a profound source of energy, but only if it is visible. Many people improve more than they realize because growth happens gradually, then gets forgotten in the middle of current frustration. A journal, a recording, a training log, an older draft, a before and after comparison, these can all act like mirrors for development. Suddenly the person sees what daily life had blurred. The piano piece once impossible is now playable. The runner once winded at 1 mile is now steady at 3. The speaker who used to freeze can now recover. That sight can be deeply stabilizing. Confidence often needs this kind of evidence because the mind tends to overfocus on what still feels unfinished. Clear markers of progress restore proportion. They remind the person that movement has already happened, which makes further movement easier to believe in. This is why visible progress can be more motivating than praise. It comes from reality itself, and reality, once noticed, can become a powerful ally of courage. Comparing yourself upward can inspire confidence or quietly crush it. Looking at someone ahead of you can produce two very different stories. One story says, "That level exists, and I can learn from it." The other says, "I will never belong anywhere near that." The same comparison, then, can either enlarge possibility or shrink it. This is one reason comparison is so psychologically potent. It does not merely measure distance, it creates meaning. In healthy forms, upward comparison can be energizing. An apprentice watches a master and feels a future opening. A young scientist sees remarkable work and wants to contribute. A new athlete studies a champion and trains with fresh seriousness. But the darker version is common too. The person sees excellence and translates it into personal inadequacy. Confidence then drains away before learning can even begin. The difference often lies in interpretation, timing, and emotional resilience. If the gap feels bridgeable, inspiration rises. If the gap feels absolute, despair often follows. Upward comparison is therefore neither friend nor enemy by nature. It depends on the story attached. Expertise can increase confidence, but it can also increase caution. The beginner often imagines mastery as a state of effortless certainty. Yet, real expertise frequently produces a more nuanced emotional landscape. Yes, skilled people become more capable and more assured in their abilities, but they also begin seeing complexities that novices cannot yet perceive. They understand failure modes, hidden variables, and how much can go wrong beneath an apparently simple surface. A surgeon sees risks in an operation that a layperson would never imagine. A pilot feels weather differently after years of experience. A seasoned engineer knows which small error can trigger larger trouble. This means expertise can create caution. At the same time, it creates confidence. The person becomes stronger, but not necessarily louder. They may sound less absolute because they understand the terrain more deeply. This is one reason wisdom can seem quieter than inexperience. The expert no longer confuses simplicity of feeling with truth. They trust themselves more, yet also respect reality more. And that pairing often looks like calm restraint rather than swagger. True experts often sound calmer because they know what can go wrong. There is a certain kind of calm that comes not from innocence, but from long acquaintance with danger, complexity, and error. True experts often speak this way. Their tone may be measured, their claims precise, their confidence almost understated. To the untrained ear, they can sound less impressive than the person speaking with booming certainty. Yet their calmness often comes from something deeper. They know the system well enough to understand both its risks and its possibilities. They have seen what happens when details are ignored. They have learned which parts matter, which parts mislead, and how quickly overconfidence can become costly. That knowledge creates a steadier style of assurance. They do not need to inflate because they are already oriented. In medicine, aviation, engineering, science, and craft, this can be one of the clearest marks of maturity. The person who truly knows often sounds less dramatic, not because they care less, but because they understand how much drama reality itself can already contain. Imposter feelings can appear even in highly capable people. One of the strangest things about confidence is that visible success does not always silence private doubt. A person can earn the role, do the work well, receive praise, and still carry the uneasy sense that they slipped past some invisible guard and will soon be found out. This is often called imposter feeling, and it can appear in students, doctors, artists, executives, and scientists who are plainly capable. The mind discounts evidence, reinterprets achievement as luck, and treats effort itself as proof of fraudulence. What makes this so fascinating is that competence and self-trust can drift apart. A person may be performing at a high level while feeling internally unlicensed to be there. That gap can shape behavior in subtle ways. Some over-prepare constantly. Some avoid opportunities. Some hide their uncertainty so well that nobody suspects the storm inside. The lesson is almost startling. Doubt is not always evidence of weakness. Sometimes it is simply what success feels like before the inner story catches up. Confidence sometimes drops right after a major achievement. It seems backward, but a big success can shake self-belief instead of strengthening it. The person works for years toward one goal, reaches it, and then feels oddly hollow, exposed, or uncertain. Part of the reason is that achievement often carries a hidden question behind it. What now? The structure that guided effort disappears, and with it goes a familiar source of identity. An athlete wins the title and suddenly feels the pressure of defending it. A student gets into the dream school and worries about belonging there. A writer finishes the book and wonders whether there is another one in them. The summit does not always feel like solid ground. Sometimes it feels like air. This is one of the least discussed features of success. It can remove the old struggle before the new self has fully formed. Confidence then wobbles, not because the person has failed, but because the meaning of success is changing beneath their feet in real time. Success can feel destabilizing when identity has not caught up. A life can change faster than a self-story. Someone receives the promotion, the award, the audience, the responsibility, or the recognition, and yet still feels internally arranged around the version of themselves from before. That mismatch can be deeply disorienting. The outer world now responds to them as accomplished, but the inner world is still organized around old doubts, old roles, or old powerlessness. This is why some people seem almost unsettled by the very things they wanted most. The new reality asks for a larger identity, and identity often moves slower than circumstance. It has habits, loyalties, and memories that do not update overnight. Without time and reflection, success can feel like wearing clothes that technically fit, but still feel borrowed. The person may shrink from praise, minimize the achievement, or wait for life to correct what they secretly think must be a mistake. Growth is not only about gaining new outcomes. It is also about becoming able to inhabit them. Confidence recovers faster when failure becomes information, not verdict. A failed attempt can either close a person down or sharpen them. The difference often lies in interpretation. If the mind treats failure as a final statement about identity, recovery becomes painfully slow. The person is not thinking, "This method did not work." They are thinking, "I am the kind of person who cannot do this." That kind of conclusion reaches far deeper than the event itself. But when failure is treated as information, something changes. The pain may still be real, the disappointment still sharp, yet the mind remains in motion. It asks, what broke down? What was missing? What timing was wrong? What assumption failed? This is not cold detachment. It is constructive honesty. Many high performers learn this deliberately because repeated effort becomes impossible without it. Experiments fail. Businesses stumble. Performances collapse. Attempts fall apart. Survival depends on extracting signal without turning the self into rubble. Once failure becomes data, confidence has a far easier route back into the room. Shame can freeze confidence more deeply than simple disappointment. Disappointment hurts, but shame goes deeper. Disappointment says, "This went badly." Shame says, "This shows something terrible about me." That second message can halt growth in a way ordinary setback does not. A disappointed person may try again tomorrow. A shamed person may avoid the whole arena for years. This is because shame attacks identity at the core. It does not merely criticize behavior. It makes exposure itself feel dangerous. Suddenly the risk is not just failing. It is being seen failing, remembered failing, defined by failing. The body reacts accordingly. The voice tightens. Initiative shrinks. The person may become quiet, defensive, or perfectionistic, all in an effort to prevent another such wound. This makes shame especially powerful in childhood, school, early work, and intimate relationships, where the self is still taking shape. Confidence can survive many disappointments. Shame is harder because it tries to fuse the event with the person. Undoing that fusion is often one of the central acts of healing. Self-compassion protects confidence better than harsh self-talk. Many people are taught that inner cruelty produces toughness. They imagine that scolding themselves will sharpen discipline and keep standards high. Sometimes it creates movement for a while, but often at a cost. Harsh self-talk can make mistakes feel more dangerous, recovery slower, and effort more emotionally expensive. Self-compassion works differently. It does not excuse laziness or deny reality. It allows the person to face reality without turning against themselves. That matters because confidence needs a mind it can safely return to after failure. If every stumble triggers an internal attack, risk becomes harder to sustain. But when the inner voice stays honest and humane, the person can regroup more quickly. Athletes, artists, teachers, parents, and leaders all benefit from this, because human performance is never perfectly clean. There will be losses, misjudgments, and embarrassing moments. The question is, what happens next? A compassionate mind does not collapse standards. It creates the emotional conditions under which standards can be pursued without self-destruction. Perfectionism often looks confident from the outside, but is not. Perfectionism can wear an impressive mask. The person seems exacting, polished, highly driven, maybe even enviably disciplined. Yet beneath that surface, the emotional engine is often not solid self-trust, but fear. Fear of being exposed, criticized, dismissed, or found lacking. What looks like excellence may therefore be held together by tension rather than freedom. The perfectionist checks again, delays again, edits again, and struggles to release work because the risk of visible imperfection feels too costly. This is one reason perfectionism can coexist with procrastination, burnout, and hidden panic. The standards are not only high, they are entangled with worth. Confidence behaves differently. It can aim high without requiring flawlessness in order to survive. It allows mistakes to exist without treating them as identity collapse. That is why perfectionism, despite its shiny reputation, often leaves people more brittle than bold. It may imitate confidence in public, but privately it is often the opposite. A life organized around avoiding the unbearable feeling of not being enough. Confidence strengthens when standards stay high and self-worth stays separate. This balance is one of the great secrets of durable self-belief. The person can care intensely about quality, truth, precision, and excellence, while refusing to tie their entire worth to every outcome. That separation changes the emotional chemistry of effort. High standards remain, but they no longer carry the impossible burden of proving personhood. A surgeon can strive for exactness without believing one difficult case defines their soul. A writer can revise fiercely without deciding that a weak draft means they are empty. A student can chase mastery without turning every grade into a final judgment on human value. This is not a small distinction. It allows ambition to remain alive without becoming poisonous. It also makes resilience far more likely, because setbacks do not have to be defended against with panic or denial. Standards guide behavior. Self-worth stabilizes identity. When those two things stay distinct, confidence gains room to breathe. A person can keep reaching upward without living in terror of every imperfect landing. People become bolder when they expect mistakes to be normal. A culture that treats mistakes as part of learning creates very different human beings from one that treats every error as humiliation. When people expect imperfection to be ordinary, they try more, speak sooner, and experiment longer. The mind stops interpreting every misstep as shocking evidence of unfitness. Instead, mistakes become woven into the journey itself. This shift can transform classrooms, rehearsal rooms, training grounds, and families. A child attempting a difficult word keeps going. A new employee asks the question before the error multiplies. A young comedian tests material. A scientist tries the risky method. In each case, boldness rises because the emotional price of being wrong has dropped. This does not make people careless. Often it makes them more engaged because they are not spending so much energy defending themselves from shame. Confidence grows beautifully in such conditions. It learns that action need not wait for certainty, and that being imperfect in public does not automatically lead to social death. Confidence can survive embarrassment better than most people imagine. Embarrassment feels catastrophic while it is happening. A forgotten name, a cracked note, a missed step, a joke that lands in silence, a voice that goes thin at exactly the wrong moment. In those seconds, the body often behaves as though status, belonging, and safety are all collapsing together. Yet human beings are more durable than embarrassment suggests. People recover. Rooms move on. Memory softens. Life continues. This matters because many forms of confidence are held hostage by an exaggerated fear of social error. The mind imagines that one awkward moment will become permanent identity. In reality, embarrassment is often survivable, forgettable, and sometimes even useful. It teaches scale. It reminds a person that exposure does not always end in ruin. Some of the boldest people in the world became that way not because they avoided embarrassment, but because they outlived enough of it to stop worshipping it. Once that happens, a whole range of action becomes suddenly possible again. Cultural rules shape what confidence is allowed to look like. Self-assurance is never judged in a vacuum. Every culture carries quiet rules about what kind of confidence seems admirable, acceptable, rude, mature, or threatening. In some places, speaking strongly and quickly may signal leadership. In others, restraint, modesty, and careful understatement carry more respect. This means the same behavior can be praised in one setting and judged harshly in another. A person may seem timid by one standard and beautifully composed by another. That is what makes confidence so socially fascinating. It is not only an inner quality. It is also a performance interpreted through local expectations. People learn these rules early, often without realizing it. Families, schools, and communities teach what kind of voice is welcome, what kind of ambition is proper, and how directly a person should present themselves. Over time, those messages can shape not just behavior, but the very feeling of self-trust. Confidence, therefore, develops partly inside the individual and partly inside a cultural script about how confidence should appear. Some societies reward quiet confidence more than visible assertiveness. Not every world admires the person who enters loudly, speaks first, and fills the air with certainty. In many cultures, confidence is communicated through composure, restraint, and the ability to remain self-possessed without constant display. A measured answer may carry more weight than a forceful one. A calm refusal may signal greater strength than open confrontation. To outsiders, this can be easy to miss. They may misread reserve as hesitation, when it is actually a culturally shaped form of assurance. This reminds us that confidence does not have one universal costume. Sometimes it arrives dressed in boldness. Sometimes it arrives as grace under pressure, economy of words, and a refusal to perform the self too brightly. There is something important in this. It protects us from confusing volume with strength. It also broadens what kinds of people get recognized as powerful. Quiet confidence can be deeply compelling because it suggests a person who does not need to advertise solidity in order to possess it. Gender expectations can distort who gets seen as confident. The same behavior can be interpreted very differently depending on who is doing it. A direct man may be called decisive. A direct woman may be called difficult. A reserved boy may be seen as thoughtful. A reserved girl may be overlooked entirely. These distortions matter because confidence is not only something people feel. It is something others grant, question, or misread. Over time, those reactions can shape behavior in profound ways. People begin adjusting not only for effectiveness, but for acceptability. Some soften themselves to avoid backlash. Some amplify themselves to avoid invisibility. Some are punished no matter which way they turn. This is one reason confidence can feel complicated rather than purely liberating. It moves through a social world that does not judge everyone by the same rules. The tragedy is that genuine ability can be filtered through stereotype before it is truly seen. The challenge, then, is not only to build self-trust, but to recognize how often public recognition of confidence is shaped by expectations that were never neutral to begin with. Accent, class, and status can influence whose confidence gets believed. People like to imagine they judge confidence by personal merit alone. In reality, social markers play a powerful role in who sounds credible to us. Accent can suggest education or lack of it, whether accurately or not. Clothing, posture, and vocabulary can signal class and status before a person has even finished their first sentence. Once those signals are received, listeners often begin interpreting the same level of assurance differently. One person sounds polished. Another sounds presumptuous. One seems authoritative. Another seems as though they are trying too hard. This is not a comfortable truth, but it is an important one. Confidence is partly heard through social filters that have little to do with actual ability. That means some people must project much more certainty to receive the same trust others get almost automatically. It also means that hidden bias can shape who gets followed, promoted, or believed. The social world does not hear every voice on equal terms, even when the words and skill are equally strong. People often judge the same confidence differently in different bodies. Human perception is not abstract. It lands on bodies that carry race, age, size, beauty standards, disability, gender, and countless visible cues. Those cues can alter how confidence is received before any deeper evaluation begins. A firm tone may seem commanding in one body and threatening in another. A soft voice may seem elegant in one person and weak in someone else. Youth may be mistaken for inexperience, age for authority, attractiveness for competence, or disability for fragility. These distortions can shape a lifetime of social feedback. Over time, they influence not only how confidence is judged, but how safe people feel expressing it at all. This is part of why confidence is never simply a private achievement. It is also a negotiation with perception. Some people must calibrate themselves carefully to avoid being punished for the same force others are rewarded for. Understanding this makes the subject far deeper and far less simplistic than self-help language usually admits. Confidence is partly personal and partly social permission. We often speak as though self-belief is produced entirely from the inside, as though enough mindset work can solve everything. Yet many people know the truth is more complicated. A person may have courage, talent, and discipline, and still meet social conditions that discourage visible confidence. Their family may punish boldness. Their culture may reward obedience. Their workplace may only trust certain kinds of voices. Their body may be read through stereotypes they did not choose. In such cases, confidence is not only a matter of inner work. It is also shaped by whether the world permits that confidence to be shown without severe cost. This does not erase personal agency, but it does place it in context. Some people are not lacking self-trust. They are navigating social consequences. That recognition matters because it prevents us from moralizing every hesitation. It also reminds us that one of the most generous things a society can do is widen the range of people allowed to stand fully in their own authority. History remembers confident voices, even when quieter ones were right. The past is full of loud certainty. Explorers, politicians, generals, financiers, and ideologues often dominate historical memory because they spoke, acted, and claimed with force. Yet history is also haunted by quieter people who saw more clearly and warned more accurately, only to be overlooked because their style carried less theatrical confidence. This pattern matters. It shows how easily public memory can confuse volume with truth. A commanding voice creates narrative momentum. It gives events a human face and a dramatic shape. A cautious voice may sound less exciting, even when it is wiser. Whole societies have followed certainty into disaster while ignoring subtler forms of intelligence that lacked the same charisma. That makes confidence both powerful and dangerous in the long arc of human affairs. It does not merely influence individual lives. It can shape what gets remembered, celebrated, and believed. The stories we inherit are not always the stories of who was most right. Often they are the stories of who sounded most certain. Charisma can imitate confidence without sharing its substance. Charisma has a strange magic to it. A charismatic person can light up a room, command attention, and make others feel drawn toward them before anyone has truly examined what lies underneath. This can look like confidence, and sometimes it is paired with real steadiness. But the two are not the same. Charisma is partly about social energy, timing, expressiveness, and emotional pull. Confidence is more about grounded self-trust, resilience, and the ability to remain stable when admiration fades. The distinction matters because charisma can keep working for a while, even when substance is thin. People may follow the glow before checking the foundation. History, leadership, romance, and business all offer examples of this confusion. Someone feels powerful to be near, so others assume they must also be wise, capable, or trustworthy. Yet charm can exist without depth. Real confidence does not need to dazzle constantly. It can remain intact in ordinary light, long after the performance energy of charisma has gone. Crowds are often moved by confidence before evidence arrives. A crowd is not just many minds added together. It becomes its own emotional creature, highly sensitive to certainty, rhythm, and momentum. In that atmosphere, confidence can act like a spark. A strong slogan, a decisive gesture, a voice that sounds sure of itself, can move people before facts have even had time to settle. This helps explain political rallies, market manias, public panics, and sudden collective enthusiasms. People do not only assess information, they absorb emotional direction from one another. Once a group begins leaning the same way, evidence can struggle to catch up. This is neither entirely irrational nor entirely avoidable. Human beings evolved as social animals, built to respond quickly to group signals. The modern danger is that public life can now amplify confident performance faster than truth can travel. A crowd may feel convinced long before it is informed. That makes confidence one of the most potent social forces there is, capable of moving whole populations with astonishing speed. Confidence can become contagious in moments of danger or hope. In critical moments, human beings often look to one another almost instantly. On a sinking boat, in a crisis ward, during a rescue, at the edge of a breakthrough, people scan nearby faces and voices for signs of what is possible. When one person acts with steadiness, it can spread. Others begin breathing differently, thinking more clearly, moving with more purpose. This happens because confidence under pressure is social as much as personal. We borrow nerve from visible examples. Hope works in a similar way. One person believes the impossible might be possible, and suddenly that possibility becomes shareable. Movements begin like this. So do rescues, recoveries, and extraordinary acts of collective endurance. Of course, fear can spread too. Panic, is contagious. But the human story is full of moments when courage moved faster. A single calm person in danger or a single determined person in despair can alter the emotional field around them and make bravery available to people who did not know they still had it. Explorers, inventors, and reformers often needed confidence before proof existed. Some of the most world-changing acts in history began before there was enough evidence to make them look sensible. An explorer pushed past the last reliable map. An inventor spent years on a machine that mostly failed in public. A reformer stood against laws, customs, or empires long before success looked likely. In each case, confidence did something extraordinary. It allowed action before confirmation. That does not mean blind certainty or reckless ego. It means a person trusted that the unknown could be entered without guaranteed reward. This kind of self-belief is especially fascinating because it operates in the dark. It cannot lean on applause, because applause usually comes later. It cannot lean on proof, because proof is still being made. Many of the turning points we now admire looked doubtful, strange, or impossible at the time. The people inside them moved anyway. Sometimes confidence is not the result of evidence. Sometimes it is the bridge that allows evidence to exist at all. Scientific discovery often begins with confidence that a mystery is solvable. Science is often described as cold method, but it also depends on a warmer force. Before the experiment is designed, before the data arrives, someone has to believe that reality is intelligible enough to be questioned. A mystery must feel worth pursuing, and not beyond the reach of human understanding forever. That is a kind of confidence. It does not guarantee the answer. It simply keeps the search alive. Imagine early astronomers looking at wandering lights in the sky, or physicians trying to understand infection before microbes could be seen, or physicists asking whether invisible forces governed matter itself. At each stage, the unknown could have been treated as final. Instead, people kept pressing inward. They trusted that hidden patterns existed and could someday be uncovered. This is one of the most beautiful forms of self-belief, because it is not only confidence in oneself. It is confidence in the universe as something that can, at least in part, be known by patient minds. Confidence helped surgeons operate long before medicine understood everything. There was never a golden age when medicine understood the body completely and only then began to act. Surgery advanced through far murkier territory. For centuries, healers cut into flesh with incomplete maps, limited tools, and only partial knowledge of infection, pain, circulation, or internal healing. That makes the history of surgery both astonishing and unsettling. Again and again, someone had to proceed while uncertainty still hovered over the table. Of course, much of that history includes error and suffering. Yet it also includes a remarkable form of courage. Surgeons learned through observation, repetition, and dangerous trial. They trusted that a body could sometimes be entered, altered, and returned to life. This required more than nerve. It required the ability to stay steady while knowledge remained unfinished. Even modern surgeons still live with that truth. Medicine knows more than ever, and still, not everything. The profession depends on a confidence that does not wait for perfect certainty, because perfect certainty never fully comes. Pilots train confidence by practicing emergencies until calm becomes automatic. A cockpit in crisis is no place for improvised emotion. When engines fail, weather shifts, or systems begin reporting trouble, the body's instinct may be alarm, but aviation depends on a different response becoming stronger. Pilots train for emergencies again and again, not because they expect disaster every flight, but because familiarity can reshape panic into sequence. The emergency checklist gets rehearsed. The unexpected becomes somewhat expected. This creates a fascinating kind of confidence. It is not based on imagining that danger will never come. It is based on knowing that if danger does come, there is a pattern the hands and mind can follow. Simulators are central to this. They expose pilots to failures they may never meet in real life, so that the nervous system learns to function under shock. Calm then becomes less a personality trait and more a trained reflex. What looks like heroism in the air often began on the ground, repeated until steadiness no longer needed permission from fear. Astronauts need confidence that works even when fear is fully present. Spaceflight is one of the least natural things human beings have ever attempted. The body was not built for launch, vacuum, radiation, isolation, or the terrifying fact that survival depends on fragile layers of metal, seals, and calculations holding together in a place that would kill instantly without them. And yet, people keep going. The kind of confidence required here is not theatrical fearlessness. It must function while danger remains vividly real. Astronauts know too much to be carefree. They understand mechanical failure, human error, and the brutal environment outside the hull. Their steadiness comes from training, teamwork, procedure, and the repeated experience of working under controlled stress. This makes space confidence especially fascinating. It is not denial. It is disciplined trust, built in the presence of full awareness. The astronaut does not need fear to disappear before acting. They need a stronger system around it. In that sense, space travel reveals something fundamental about courage. The highest confidence may be the kind that has no illusions. Confidence on expeditions depends as much on teamwork as nerve. Adventure stories often celebrate the lone hero, but real expeditions usually survive through shared confidence rather than isolated bravery. Whether crossing polar ice, climbing high mountains, navigating deserts, or sailing through storm systems, groups succeed when trust moves between people reliably. One person's nerve matters less if another misreads the route, another conceals weakness, and another refuses help. Expedition confidence is therefore relational. The team must believe in one another's judgment, honesty, and competence under pressure. This is what allows hard decisions to be made when cold, hunger, fatigue, and doubt begin distorting the mind. In extreme conditions, personal confidence can flicker. The group often becomes the deeper source of stability. Someone else remembers the plan. Someone else stays calm. Someone else notices danger first. This makes survival a shared psychological achievement as much as a physical one. We often picture courage at the edge of the world as solitary, yet many journeys through the unknown have depended on confidence being passed back and forth like a flame. Great commanders often used confidence to steady frightened people. In battle, fear moves fast. Noise, confusion, injury, and uncertainty can make trained people feel suddenly fragile. One of the oldest tasks of command has therefore been emotional as well as strategic. Great commanders do not merely issue orders. They shape the feeling of the people under them. A steady presence on horseback, a clear voice in chaos, a refusal to panic when lines break or plans fail. These can hold a frightened force together when it might otherwise dissolve. This has been true across centuries, from ancient armies to modern units. Confidence here becomes almost architectural. It gives others something to stand inside. Of course, history also shows the danger of false confidence, when leaders sound certain and lead people into ruin. But at its best, command steadiness can save lives by preventing fear from turning into collapse. In extreme danger, people often do not need constant inspiration. They need someone whose calm makes the next action feel possible, even while the larger outcome remains unknown. Confidence can keep groups moving when certainty is impossible. Some moments offer no clean answers. A rescue team enters aftershock territory. A company faces a crisis with incomplete information. A family makes decisions beside a hospital bed. In situations like these, certainty may simply not exist in time to help. Yet movement is still required. This is where confidence becomes more than optimism. It becomes the force that allows action when perfect knowledge is unavailable. Groups often stall when nobody feels entitled to choose under ambiguity. Fear of being wrong grows so large that even the next reasonable step feels dangerous. But a steady person, or a steady culture, can break that paralysis, not by pretending the unknown has vanished, but by accepting that partial knowledge must sometimes be enough to proceed. This is a profound human skill. Civilization itself depends on it more often than we admit. Many collective decisions are made in fog, not clarity. Confidence helps people keep walking through the fog without needing to lie that daylight has already arrived. Many breakthroughs began with someone trusting a strange new idea. Before a breakthrough becomes obvious, it often looks faintly ridiculous. The idea does not match common sense, current fashion, or existing authority. It may sound too small, too radical, too elegant, or simply too strange. Yet across science, art, politics, and technology, many turning points began when someone trusted such an idea long enough to test it. That trust is a fascinating form of confidence because it often exists without social support. The person may be doubted, ignored, mocked, or politely tolerated for years. Still, they continue. They keep refining, checking, and following the thread. Some strange ideas deserve to fail, of course. But some altered the world precisely because someone refused to abandon them at the first sign of disbelief. The crucial point is that novelty rarely arrives looking respectable. Real confidence sometimes means staying with a thought before the world knows what to do with it. Breakthroughs often begin in that fragile interval when conviction must survive before recognition catches up. History is full of quiet confidence, not just dramatic boldness. Not every powerful life announces itself. History often spotlights the conqueror, the orator, the rebel with the raised voice. Yet quieter forms of self-belief have shaped the world too. The scientist who returns to the bench for another year. The nurse who keeps steady under endless strain. The organizer who builds a movement in kitchens, schools, and church halls. The mother who holds a family together through hardship without ever calling it heroic. Quiet confidence rarely creates immediate spectacle, which is why it can be overlooked. But it has immense force. It endures, repeats, and stabilizes. It does not depend on dramatic moments to prove itself. In many cases, it is the reason dramatic moments become possible at all. Beneath public victories, there are often years of unspectacular persistence, carried by people who simply kept going. This matters because it expands what counts as powerful. History is not only moved by thunder. Often it is moved by steadiness that speaks softly, works patiently, and refuses to disappear. Confidence in love often means risking honesty without guaranteed safety. Romantic courage is not only about grand gestures. Much of it happens in quieter, more dangerous territory. Telling the truth about what you feel, admitting need, naming hurt, asking for closeness, revealing fear. These acts can be terrifying because love offers no guaranteed protection from rejection, misunderstanding, or loss. That is what makes confidence in love so unique. It does not operate in a world of controlled outcomes. It moves toward another person without complete emotional armor. Many people can appear bold in work, sport, or public life, then become hesitant in intimacy because intimacy exposes softer regions of the self. yet lasting love often requires exactly that exposure. It asks people to trust that being known is worth the risk of not being perfectly received. This kind of confidence is not performance. It is vulnerability held upright. To say what matters without certainty about how it will land may be one of the bravest uses of self-belief human beings ever practice. Trust can grow confidence by making vulnerability feel survivable. When someone responds well to our exposed self, the nervous system remembers. A truth is spoken and not mocked. A need is expressed and not punished. A weakness is revealed and not used as a weapon. These moments do more than strengthen a relationship. They teach the body that vulnerability can be survived. Over time, this becomes one of the hidden foundations of confidence. A trusted bond can make people more articulate, more playful, more adventurous, and more emotionally honest because they are no longer bracing so hard against shame or abandonment. This is why love, friendship, and deep partnership can transform self-belief in ways achievement alone cannot. The person begins taking more social and emotional risks, not because danger disappeared, but because connection has altered what danger means. Confidence then grows in a relational soil. It is not only self-generated, it is co-created through repeated experiences of being received without destruction. Trust, in this sense, becomes a training ground where courage learns that openness does not always end badly. Children read confidence in a caregiver's face within moments. Before children can understand explanations, they are already studying expression. A caregiver's face becomes a map for how the world should be interpreted. A strange noise, a new person, an unexpected stumble, a sudden animal. The child looks up. In that instant, the adult's expression can shape the whole emotional meaning of the moment. Calm interest invites exploration. Alarm invites caution. This happens with astonishing speed. The child does not need a lecture. The information is already arriving through eyes, muscles, tone, and timing. This makes caregiving far more powerful than instruction alone. Adults are constantly lending children emotional forecasts through the face. Over time, these repeated readings help build the child's own internal model of risk and possibility. A secure child is often not one who never feels fear, but one who has repeatedly seen steadiness reflected back at the point of uncertainty. Confidence, in this very early form, begins as something read in another human being before it can ever be fully generated alone. Dogs respond differently to hesitation, tension, and steady confidence. Dogs live in a world of body language so immediate that human self-deception often fails in front of them. A person may insist they feel fine, while their shoulders tighten, movement becomes jerky, and breath shortens. Many dogs notice. They respond to rhythm, posture, energy, and intent in ways that can make human confidence suddenly visible. A handler who is anxious may create uncertainty in the animal. A calm and consistent presence can help the dog settle, focus, and follow. This is especially clear in training, rescue work, herding, and service roles, where animals often mirror the steadiness or instability of the person guiding them. What makes this so fascinating is that dogs do not care much about our stories about ourselves. They react to what the nervous system is actually broadcasting. In that sense, they are unusually honest social partners. They remind us that confidence is not only verbal, it is carried in timing, tension, and the felt coherence of the body. Confidence affects negotiation long before anyone makes the first offer. By the time the first number is spoken, much of the psychological terrain has already been shaped. Negotiation begins in posture, preparation, pace, silence, and the degree to which each person appears willing to walk away. A confident negotiator does not always dominate the room. Often they do something subtler. They signal that they know their value, understand the structure, and are not desperate for immediate approval. That changes how every proposal is heard. The other side begins adjusting to that steadiness, sometimes without fully realizing it. Even hesitation can become meaningful. A rushed acceptance signals one thing. A considered pause signals another. This is what makes negotiation so fascinating. It is not only the exchange of terms, it is the exchange of psychological position. Confidence affects how much space a person takes up before any concrete demand has been voiced. In some cases, the strongest move is not speaking first at all, but letting silence reveal who feels secure enough to wait. People with grounded confidence usually recover faster from social mistakes. Social life is full of tiny stumbles. We interrupt, misread tone, forget names, tell the wrong story, laugh at the wrong moment, or realize halfway through a sentence that it is landing badly. People with fragile self-belief often experience these moments as miniature disasters. They replay them, tighten around them, and sometimes behave even more awkwardly in the effort to repair them perfectly. Grounded confidence changes the rhythm. The person notices the error, adjusts, apologizes if needed, and keeps moving. This does not mean they feel nothing. It means the mistake does not swallow the whole self. That has a major effect on social ease. Conversations stay alive because imperfections are not treated as mortal threats. Friends, colleagues, and strangers often respond well to this too, because flexible people make interaction feel safer for everyone. In a way, social grace is less about never slipping than about recovering cleanly. Confidence helps because it refuses to let one misstep become the whole meaning of the encounter. Confidence is easier to feel when your actions match your values. There is a special steadiness that comes from internal alignment. When people act in ways that fit what they claim to believe, something inside them settles. They may still feel nervous, but they do not feel divided. This matters because inner conflict quietly drains self-trust. If a person keeps betraying their own standards, avoiding truths they value, or performing an identity they do not respect, confidence becomes harder to inhabit. The body senses the split. By contrast, even difficult action can feel strengthening when it matches core values. A person tells the truth at cost. They stay loyal under pressure. They choose the slower, cleaner path instead of the easier compromise. Such decisions do not always make life simpler, but they often make the self more coherent. And coherence is fertile ground for confidence. It is easier to stand upright when you are not secretly arguing with your own behavior. Self-belief deepens when the person you present to the world increasingly resembles the person you most want to be. The future of confidence may lie in training the brain's predictions. The brain is constantly forecasting. It predicts how others will respond, how hard a task will feel, whether effort is likely to pay off, and whether danger is near. Confidence may be deeply tied to these predictions. A person who expects collapse enters the world one way. The person who expects some capacity to cope enters another. This makes the future of confidence especially intriguing. It may depend less on abstract motivation and more on changing the predictive habits of the brain itself. Exposure therapy, realistic rehearsal, virtual training, biofeedback, and new forms of learning all point in this direction. They help the nervous system update its expectations through experience rather than slogans. Instead of saying, "Be confident," the future may ask, "What does your brain currently predict, and how can those predictions be retrained?" That is a profound shift. It treats self-belief not as magic, but as an adaptable biological process. Confidence then becomes something trainable at the level where fear often begins. Confidence is not the absence of doubt, but movement with doubt. One of the most liberating truths about self-belief is that doubt does not disqualify it. Many people waste years waiting to feel completely certain before they act, speak, love, lead, begin, or change. That moment often never comes. Doubt remains part of the landscape because human beings are finite, social, and aware of consequence. The deeper form of confidence is not a mind emptied of uncertainty. It is a mind that can carry uncertainty without surrendering all forward motion. This distinction matters in nearly every meaningful part of life. The parent doubts and still decides. The artist doubts and still releases the work. The student doubts and still sits the exam. The reformer doubts and still continues. Once people understand this, confidence becomes much more available. It no longer belongs only to the seemingly fearless. It belongs to anyone who has learned how to keep moving while unanswered questions remain beside them, rather than waiting forever for every shadow to disappear first. Real confidence is often built quietly, then revealed all at once. From the outside, some people seem to change overnight. The shy student suddenly speaks with force. The hesitant athlete suddenly performs with poise. The uncertain worker suddenly leads as though they were always meant to. Yet such moments are rarely born in an instant. What looks sudden is often the visible edge of long, invisible construction. Confidence tends to accumulate privately, through repeated effort, unnoticed recovery, quiet decisions, solitary practice, and many moments when the person nearly gave up, but did not. Then one day the conditions align, and what was being built inside becomes visible to everyone at once. This is one reason confidence can feel almost magical when it appears. We are seeing the reveal, not the making. The real work happened in rooms without applause, in ordinary days, in small acts too subtle to impress anyone. That may be one of the most hopeful truths in the whole subject. Lasting self-belief often grows in silence before the world ever learns its name. As we come to the end of tonight's journey, you might notice how wide the world of confidence really is. It lives in the body and the breath. It moves through memory, learning, and quiet repetition. It appears in classrooms, on stages, in relationships, and in moments where no one is watching at all. We've wandered through the subtle signals of the nervous system, the shaping influence of childhood, the pull of culture, and the quiet strength of values. We've seen how confidence can rise beside fear, how it can be borrowed, built, shaken, and rebuilt again. And perhaps, most gently of all, we've seen that it does not need to be loud to be real. Now, there is nothing you need to figure out, and nothing you need to improve. Let the ideas drift past like distant lights. Let them fade as your mind begins to slow. Feel the weight of your body resting where it is. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, steady and unhurried. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw loosen. Let the day release its grip, little by little. If you're still awake, there will be another journey waiting for you on the screen. Something just as calm, just as curious, ready to carry you a little further into rest. And if your eyes are already growing heavy, then simply stay here. Allow your thoughts to settle, your body to grow still, and your mind to drift into quiet. Sleep well, and good night.